more you fear the failure or rejection, the more likely that it is really aligned with what you want, that it really aligns with the deepest dreams for your life and your career. I think it's painful for a reason, but the thing is, when you put in your highest effort into something, even if you don't get it, I say there's no such thing as unrewarded effort when you put in your highest effort, because everyone in the process is seeing you in your best element.
Big change doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it starts with a single step. That's why I'm excited to host leaders, innovators, great thinkers, and everyday people sharing their stories and practical insights you can use right now. Wherever you are in your journey, whether you're just starting out, looking to make a pivot, or ready to reinvent yourself, you'll find both information and inspiration right here. This is Giant Steps, and I'm Leilani Brown. I just finished reading this book, Pitch Your Potential, by Dr. Vicki Johnson, who joins me today. And I was on the flight and I was saying to myself, oh my goodness, I'm so looking forward to this conversation. And even though our season has officially ended, after this conversation, we're going to have to break back in and say one more thing because I had to have this conversation with Dr. Vicki Johnson. So today's guest, she is a speaker, author, and 4-time fellowship winner. She's the founder of ProFellow, the leading platform in the U.S. for competitive fellowships, graduate programs, and leadership accelerators, with more than 9 million readers globally. And she has personally helped her community secure over $500 million, with a B, in merit-based funding awards. And her new book is called Pitch Your Potential, the formula for winning dream jobs, awards, and elite opportunities. And I have to say, this is one of those books, Vicki, that I think should be required reading, especially coming out of college. But I think also for people who are just aiming high, and a lot of our audience members are aiming high. So thank you for writing it. Thank you in advance for being so generous, and welcome to Giant Steps with Leilani Brown.
Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here, and I'm so glad that you love the book.
No, it's really good because I think that we want to give people actionable strategies and formulas that they can actually use, and also conventional wisdom presented in an unconventional way, and also unconventional wisdom. And I think your match theory and so much more is that. So before we get into it though, how did we get here? Can you bring us back to how it all began? Give a little bit of your background. I know it because I read the book, but how did it all get started to bring you to this place?
I mean, I think this began for me in high school because I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware. I went to a struggling city public high school, but I was a high achiever student. I wanted to go to college. I had my sights set really high on an Ivy League university, Cornell, and I received a lot of feedback that was probably going to be out of reach. Not necessarily because I wasn't a strong enough student per se, but it was the environment that I was in and these things that were out of my control. So I had 2 unique superpowers as a young person. My father's a Lutheran minister, and I learned the power of storytelling from him. And my mother always had a very good attention to detail. She loved interior design and art history. And so I learned that there's power in detail and curation. And I used those 2 skills somewhat unknowingly to develop a personal statement for Cornell that got me into the school. I really do think it was based on my story. And I took that skill, those 2 skills, and I really applied it to a lot of other things throughout my career, the fellowships that I applied to, the graduate schools, jobs that I was applying to. And in most cases, there were people telling me that the goals that I had set were really high and that, I shouldn't get my heart set on them and that I'm probably going to be unqualified compared to the competition. But I do think this unique approach that I was taking, it was very, very effective. And so fast forward, I founded company ProFellow. We help people find unique competitive opportunities like fellowships. And I started to teach this approach. First, I had to reflect on what am I doing differently? I mean, it took me a long time to figure that out, just that, what exactly am I doing differently? And then I documented it and I started to teach it to other people. So I tell people I wrote the book in a year. However, the formula development and the testing and the ideas behind this book was more than 10 years. I would even say 20 years, maybe even high school, because it was tested and experimented with over many, many, many years.
I'm sure for you and also for the people who are around you. Let's jump ahead to it because I have questions about all of that. But I think that there are so many things that you just mentioned that I could cover. But I would probably start with uh, what is a compelling application? What does a compelling candidate look like? And can you take us through your match me theory
Hmm.
and formula and how that really works? But before you get into that acronym and that formula, there's something that you said that I would like to focus on, which is really authentic, being authentic, being yourself, and using that as as a differentiator. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So, in my perspective, everyone is a very unique package of lived experiences, skills, talents, and even the things that you're interested in. What I found over the years, this is my core theory, is that selectors are less interested in your past, they're most interested in your future. But when you're talking about the future, you're using your imagination. You're coming up with a story of what the future looks like, which is actually completely creative and imaginary. The better that you can get at telling the story of the future, the more success you're going to have in these competitive spheres throughout your career. So we're taught to really focus in on the resume building, right? Get high grades, get high test scores, get
Right.
all the accolades, do that. And there's this idea that that's the thing. The more things you have on your resume, the higher the likelihood you're going to win. What I found as I was successfully beating out people that did, in some cases, have more work experience, credentials, accomplishments than I did, is
Mm-hmm.
that I was able to hook selectors with the story of the future. I would tell them what type of impact that I would make on their mission if I was selected. And I did it with a lot of detail, the way my mom taught me, and with stories and really showing the social impact on other people. So my whole book is about how to tell those future stories. And the Match Me formula is showing you how to do that step by step. What are the pieces of that story that really make it compelling? So, Match
Okay.
Me is 7 letters. It's each letter stands for an element of a winning application. So, the first M stands for memorable. The A stands for aligned with their mission. You care about their mission, you want to advance their goals. The T stands for timely and urgent. So, there's some urgency to your application. The C stands for capitalizing on their unique benefits. So you've done some research on what makes them special and unique, and you talk about how you're going to leverage those things toward that future impact. H is the highly specific. So generally, we're not very good writers. We have a lot of jargon and fluff and platitudes in our writing, and
Yeah.
I have a lot of experience writing, and over the years, I would really try to get it down to something specific and clear, and it really actually frees up a lot of word count. So learning how to be a highly specific writer is important. The next M is mutually beneficial. So they do want to know that their investments are going where it can do the most good. So it's not just good for them, it's also good for you. And then finally,
Mm-hmm.
elegant is that word that I use for the careful balance of self confidence and humility. And it's actually a signal of your emotional intelligence. Are you going to be
Yeah.
somebody they enjoy working with? That's what they're trying to
Yeah.
suss out when they're reading your writing and they're meeting you in interviews. They want to know, is this person going to come in and be a pleasure, or are we going to have problems? So, how do you
Right.
display that balance in your writing?
Yeah.
That's the formula.
Match me. And
Yeah.
the for elegant, I don't think I've ever heard or read, and I read a lot of books and a lot of business books, elegant as part of it. We're going to come back to the definition of that.
Okay. Yeah.
Before you can get to the application stage, though, there has to be some level of self belief,
Yep.
urgency, desire, and you have to get past gatekeepers, as you call them
Hmm.
in the book. And sometimes you can be your own worst gatekeeper, diminishing your own potential by saying, that's never going to happen. I always like to tell my clients in the audience in the past, I've said this in speeches, is you should never turn down a job that hasn't been offered to you yet. The same for your applications to a particular school. This idea that, oh, I'm never going to have that, or they're never going to pick me. But can you talk about the importance of really using a filter around sometimes well-intentioned gatekeepers? Like, what was that for you? You were applying
Yes.
to, you wanted to apply and go to Cornell. but you had well-intentioned people really setting your expectations, but maybe trying to lower them. How do we overcome some of that?
Yes, I talk about two types of gatekeepers in the book, and there's in the whole in chapter one, I talk all about mindset first because before you can start applying these tactics, you have to be aware of the messaging that you're receiving from other people, from society, about
Mm-hmm.
how competitive everything is, how low the possibility of success is. We're getting these messages all the time, and it's even worse now because of social media, because now we're getting it from social media, from the
Yeah.
news. And it wasn't like that when I was young, but we have it so much more now. Now, gatekeepers are the people in your life that are telling you to lower your goals. Sometimes I call it deliberate gatekeeping. There is forms of discrimination and sort of a
Sure.
deliberate need to kind of keep things elite, or there's a sort of elitism to many of these programs.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, the more common and more problematic one is the well-intentioned gatekeeper. That's the
Mm-hmm.
parent, the professor, the friend, the mentor, the boss, the colleague that tells you, that's a great goal, but really it's so aspirational. Why don't you lower it to something more attainable? And in fact, a lot of career and academic advising is about making sure that you recalibrate goals to something attainable, because there's an idea that it's better to have some success than no success, right? But the problem is when you start getting that messaging, it actually embeds deep in your psyche that, well, they're right. I'm not really ready for this really high level, ambitious goal. And it actually
Mm-hmm.
causes you to self-sabotage your efforts. So you need to be able to
Yeah.
set high goals, filter out this, you know, goal lowering, messaging that, which again, I think people care about you. They don't want you to experience disappointment and failure, but that is part of the game. That is the game of life. And actually, the more you
Mm-hmm.
experience failure, I promise you, the better you're going to get at achieving success, because you have to kind of
Yeah.
experiment and iterate and learn from the process.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard to do if you're applying to things you don't really want. I think a lot of us are applying to
Mm-hmm.
too many things, applying to things that we think we should be applying to. There's this idea that we have to have higher pay, higher titles, and that is what's going to display success. But then we're applying to things that we don't authentically desire. So I do think you
Mm-hmm.
should build a personal mission. What are the problems you want to solve in society? What are the things that you care about? Pursue opportunities that allow you to do that, allow you to solve
Yeah.
those problems that impact other people. You'll find yourself less impacted by rejection if you really hone in on a problem versus
Yeah.
the idea of achieving success, as we call it. Um,
Yeah.
you'll feel
Yeah.
more fulfilled.
That authentic desire really resonated with me so much. I remember in a past life, I used to be a marketing leader in corporate America, and I was invited to be a candidate to be the chief marketing officer for I don't want to give it away, but a sports league. And I'm no athlete, and I'm not really a sports enthusiast. And I declined to interview and to participate in the rounds of interviews. And I told the recruiter, who I'm still in touch with today, I don't have the requisite passion for the sport to
Hmm,
be effective in the job.
that
I'm
was
not
smart.
sure that I would be a really good candidate for it. And I think it was the right thing to do, even though it was highly visible, super sexy opportunity. What do you mean? When I was telling friends the person that sent it to me, what do you mean you don't love X sport? Luge, the
Yeah,
pickleball, whatever. I'm making it up.
yeah, yeah.
What do you mean you don't love it? And I said, I just don't love it. I don't think I'd be a good candidate. So I think that's really great. I want to go back to that winning mindset, though, that you
Mhm.
mentioned, and I literally call it a winning mindset, which is there's nothing wrong with having and adopting a winning mindset and being ambitious in that way.
Yes.
But there's one thing in there that I love that you pointed out is that fear of failure is good. What is it telling us when we are afraid to fail? When we have a little bit of fear that we won't get it? What does that tell us? What should it signal?
Oh, well, think about this. If you see a job opportunity that you're like, oh, that's my dream job, think about how your body feels. You're excited, you're anxious, you think already your mind is spiraling like, could I get this job? Am I qualified? How would I pitch myself? And so you start to get that fear that you're going to put all this effort in and then you're going to fail. But the more honestly, the more you fear the failure or rejection, the more likely that it is really aligned with what you want, that it really aligns with the deepest dreams for your life and your career. And so we
Yeah.
should lean into that feeling. We're kind of taught to remove emotion from this process to make disappointment less painful. I don't think we should move in that direction. I think it's painful for a reason. But the thing is, when you put in your highest effort into something, even if you don't get it, I say there's no such thing as unrewarded effort when you put in your highest effort, because everyone in the process is seeing you in your best element. The people who are referring you, the people on the selection committee. I don't know, there could be stakeholders or people you're meeting with to prepare for the interviews. Everyone is
Hmm.
seeing you put in this very, very high effort. So even if for some reason you don't get the opportunity, it's building your reputation bank. People are going to remember
Right.
you as someone who's a hard worker, very driven, very passionate, put a ton of preparation into that interview and that application. And I tell you, it's going to come back to you in ways that you can't imagine in the future. But the problem is we often go into the competition already sabotaging our efforts because we feel intimidated that we're not going to get it. We're
Right.
telling people, "Oh, I don't think I'm going to get into this school, but I'm applying anyway." Like that actually self-sabotages that high effort that you need to put in. So I think that we
Hmm.
should lean into the emotion, sit with it, fuel it, and actually, if you feel unemotional about not getting something, you probably don't really want it. So maybe save
Right.
your energy for the thing that you really do want.
But I think so many times we're managing our expectation and we don't like to feel discomfort. No one likes to be disappointed. No one likes to feel rejected.
No,
And so we end up managing our expectations so low and calibrating them so low that we create a scapegoat within ourselves for why we didn't get it. Well, I knew I wasn't going to get it anyway. Instead
exactly.
of
How many times
pushing
have
as
you heard that,
hard as
right?
possible. Exactly. Pushing as
Exactly.
hard as you can. Because you do show up differently when you really want something versus when you kind of sort of want it. And
It's so true.
that happens in all aspects of our lives, I think.
Yeah, use it as fuel. Like
Yeah.
it actually will help you become a more prepared applicant. It will give you the focus and drive to succeed
Yeah.
and even beat out. Because if you think about it, there's also going to be other really highly qualified people, maybe even more qualified than you, but they may lack the ambition, the authentic desire. See, this is what we
Right.
forget. Not everybody who's
It's
got a
not their
great
job.
resume has an authentic desire for the opportunity. And I always tell applicants, enthusiasm goes way farther than people believe. If
Yeah.
you've ever employed people, you probably know that person who's got that hunger for the opportunity is going to win
Hmm.
because they know that you're intrinsically motivated to help them achieve their goals, right?
Right.
So that really works.
It takes some courage, I think, to look at yourself in the mirror and really determine if you're sitting with a feeling of self awareness
Hmm.
or self rejection in advance, I think, to be able to have that kind of conversation.
It does.
So, we are recording this on the heels of, I don't know, uh, well, I'll just say for the first quarter of 2026, 60,000 people in corporate America getting laid off.
Hmm.
And then another tranche of people by a tech giant, I won't call out by name, who got notification yesterday by email or
Hmm.
Tuesday by email. So a lot of people are listening, and we're building these shows intentionally to meet the moment for those who have lost their jobs. How can the Match Me formula really help people who are facing, a job market right now? And I say that having read the book and
Hmm.
understanding the value of being prepared, but also specificity in the age of AI, where we're probably going to start to see resume materials and career assets looking remarkably the same because everyone's using the same tools and the same
Exactly.
prompts. So how do you use MatchMe to stand out and differentiate yourself potentially as a candidate in this job market?
Yes. I mean, the trend I see is that, there's the same or fewer jobs and there's more people applying to them. It's giving the sense that things are very competitive. A regular job might have 200, 300, even 1,000 applicants. So you might be thinking to yourself, "Oh, it's so competitive. there's no point in applying. But I want people to remember that with the AI tools, the one step application, websites, and all these other things, that a lot of people are applying to these jobs very superficially. And so I want you to imagine for anything you're applying to, imagine that 50% of those applicants not qualified. They're just, clicking that one click, putting the resume in. They're probably going to get quickly filtered out. There's probably another in that last 50%. There is going to be people, lots of people who are qualified. There's going to be people that don't really want that job. They're applying because they feel they have to. It's a thing. Let's put it out there. And then there's going to be a very small subset of people who really want that job and who are going to go the extra mile to get in front of the selectors in different ways. So this is when you're looking in your network for mutual contacts to get intros. This is when you're showing up at conferences and career fairs, trying to get to make a personal connection with people that are part of that company or organization. That's when you're going into your interview, like I did with a strategic plan to say, if you pick me, this is what the future is going to look like. And I actually wrote it out before this interview. And you come in with good questions too. Someone's told me the other day that people are surprised they never ask questions in interviews. I thought that was common knowledge that you should ask questions. It's another way to get that edge. So what I want you to do, or not you, but people who are in the job market, first of all, narrow down to things that you really want. Don't try to apply to 100 things at once. Narrow down and then be that top 5% that's going above and beyond. It's the only way that you're going to stand out. And know that above and beyond usually is a human factor. I've gotten a referral. I've made a connection in some in-person capacity. I came up with a creative way to write my cover letter. I'm going to go to the interview or talk to them with some sort of idea or pitch that I've researched and brought to them. You got to go above and beyond. But if you won't have time if you're doing 1,000 things. So I think quality over quantity, and don't waste your time on the things you don't really want. You'll be on the back end, right? So
You speak about it as an art form, this idea
yes,
of being very prepared and very, very specific versus generic and really standing out. And I think that is different. That is different. But you also have to be really ready, and along with that specificity, if you can even understand what's happening at that company at that time, you can make the case for why you are the unique fit, right
yes,
person, right time, right company.
absolutely. And it's really about igniting their excitement with your ideas. Your ideas do not have to be perfect. They
Yeah.
know that you don't have all the insider information about what's happening at that organization. But if you show that you've done some research that went beyond just looking at their static website, maybe you read their newsletter, maybe you looked at the conference presentation the CEO just gave, maybe you see that the head of marketing is doing a bunch of posts on LinkedIn about a certain topic. Like if you link into that kind of non the information that not everyone's looking at and using that to drive your pitch, even your cover letter, it helps you stand out because it's signaling, oh, this person's
Yeah.
doing extra research, this person is extra enthusiastic. And you can try to do this stuff with AI, but honestly, I really do think it's something you kind of need to put your own brain toward to really sound authentic, because you can't have AI do all this research. It
Absolutely.
won't be in your brain when you're put on the
Yeah.
spot.
Ab-
So that's the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you take us through the story arc? I think you had it as
Mhm.
beginning, middle, and end of the why
Yes.
you, the
Oh,
magic
yes.
story. Like I love that because it's just why you over everybody else. What's in and that's a winning framework for an interview question, an elevator pitch, right?
Yes.
We talk about that. That's a great answer to the most commonly asked interview question. So tell me about yourself. Having
Yes.
this story arc, explain how you would coach someone through that.
Yes. So it's a winning application story. And I want you to think of it as the story of the future, right? You're about to tell them what the future is going to look like when you are put on this task, whether you're pitching like a company for a job or to be selected for something. So the beginning of the story is your background. It is the things that you've done in the past. It kind of explains how did you get to where you are right now. But it's not a big rundown of every accomplishment. It's actually what's more important is you talk about what motivated you. into different career pathways. Why did you pick that college major? Why did you spend 10 years in corporate American marketing? Why are you also on the side, maybe volunteering and doing work in environmental conservation? Whatever that is, it should be relevant to who you're talking to. But I say it's about the past, where you are now, but it's mostly about motivations. It's signaling, okay, this person's aligned with us because they are very motivated toward these same goals. Then I say you actually hop ahead to the future, the end of the story. The end of the story is the impact that you would make if you're selected. So that could be, if I'm in this job, if I got picked for this job, I see a future where we're advancing the mission in this specific way. And you would explain how you would do that as simply as you can. And then the hook of the story is not where you say why you were so perfect to do this, but actually you think about what are their unique factors? What makes them different as a company? What resources do they have that other groups don't have? What networks or influence do they have? And you should know that in advance. And then you talk about how you're going to use those things to achieve the end goal. And this has a little emotional impact to it because they think, oh man, number one, this person knows everything about us. Wow. And then secondly, they're going to leverage the things we've already invested in. So people sometimes make the mistake of talking about how they're going to fix the organization's problems. Oh, you have a revenue problem. I'm going to fix that. Oh, you have a fundraising problem. I'm going to fix that. Rather, I think it's better to talk about we're going to meet the mission, and I'm going to leverage these 3 unique things that you offer, combined with my skills and talents to hit that goal. And it's just like an overall positive message that gets them excited because they're like, thank you. We wanted someone to leverage our unique things and not just tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what we're doing right.
Right.
You see how
And it conveys collaboration and partnership.
Exactly. It's collaboration, treating them like collaborators, not like judges or bosses or anything in that way.
Yeah. Can we talk about LinkedIn? Do we still love LinkedIn? Because I love LinkedIn. But I will say this. If I had $1 for every I'm so humbled, I'm so honored post and or the AI bots that are constantly trying to sell me SEO optimization, and I know you're getting it too. Yes. And so it's making LinkedIn harder, but I still believe in LinkedIn as the proven platform.
Yes.
And history telling and networking, at least online digital resume. I still very much believe in it, and actually don't really think you are in a search if you don't have a presence there. But tell me your views on LinkedIn and how you can use that platform specifically for pitching your potential. And by the way, I'm asking all of these questions because what is on my mind and keeps me up at night are the people who call me and say, oh no, I just lost my job. I haven't looked for one. I don't know where to start.
Yes.
I'm really trying to make sure that in addition to then opportunities like fellowships and other programs, that they're really leveraging the content of this book to help them shape their approach, because this was really, really good. But what do you think about LinkedIn?
I have been a big LinkedIn user. I've used it for however long. When did I start? Maybe it's been like 20 years that I've been using LinkedIn. We are very distracted by the LinkedIn feed of information, which has become just like Facebook and Twitter and everybody else. Don't worry about the feed. The feed is a way to get people hooked in, to be staring at LinkedIn all day long. What you want to use LinkedIn for is its most powerful feature, which is to digitally connect with everyone you have ever known and met in your life, and then unlock their networks. So I tell people, like, you should be connecting with everyone. If you're in college, all your friends, all your professors, you're doing internships, connect with all the people you've met on the internship, bosses, colleagues. When you're out in the workforce, you should connect obviously with everyone in your organization that you know is on there, people you're meeting at conferences, people you're meeting, and then also in your social life, people you're meeting in the mountain biking group, people you're meeting at yoga, people you're meeting at the bar. Because here's the thing, if you don't have digital documentation of your network, you may never know that your high school or your college roommate's uncle is the CEO of the company that you want to get a job at, right? You would never know that because you can't see their network. In fact, you might not even vaguely remember your college roommate. But when you use LinkedIn and you put in you've got a job opportunity, you put in the company, And then you're like, oh my God, my old college roommate is uncle is connected in some way. They can give me an introduction. And those mutual referrals and introductions, I'm sorry, traditionally those have always been the most powerful way to get jobs. And this is true today. And in fact, I think it's going to be even more true because with the over applications that are happening, I think a lot of companies are going to take opportunities offline if they have not already. If you're not out talking to people, you won't even know that there's an opening here, an opportunity there. So that use LinkedIn for the digital documentation of your network, and you should be aggressively connecting with everyone you meet. Which, when I say aggressive, it's literally like, "Hey, Sally, it was so great to meet you at yoga today. I'd love to connect here." That's it.
Right. Or connect here
Sally might have
as
more for
well.
you, even if you lose touch.
Here and
Right.
there, right. And also offline. What I love about the platform too is that you're still discoverable.
Oh
So
yes,
it's
yes.
better. I mean, it ranks in terms of search results, and
Oh
it
yeah.
gives you the best opportunity to really um, define how people are finding you. So I think the discoverability is
And
still
believe
there.
me,
So
employers are looking at it. Don't when someone tells me they don't have a LinkedIn profile, I'm just like, why? Like they're going to be there's no digital documentation of who you are. It makes it actually seem a little bit, sketchy if you
well, it
don't have one.
seems less than credible if you don't
Yes,
have one at this
yes,
this
exactly.
this point. It's sort of like saying I don't have email, so
Yeah,
you have to have it. So
yes,
tell me about getting paid for experiential learning.
yes,
ProFellow, what an
bro.
incredible platform!
Yes.
$500 million.
We have helped people win 500 million in very unique funding awards, graduate school funding, but also these things called fellowships. So I did not know about the world of fellowships in college. I actually stumbled upon it in the career office. I found a brochure for this program called the New York City Urban Fellows Program, and it was a 1 year professional fellowship. So it was basically a 1 year job. You work in New York City government, there's a cohort, there's a leadership development component, and it was so interesting to me. I'd never heard of this, but I was like, okay, well, I'll apply to this in addition to jobs my senior year. And after finding that program, getting into it, having an extraordinary experience, I got curious. I was like, I wonder if there's any more fellows programs. And so I got on the internet and started Googling. And lo and behold, there was all sorts of fellowship programs. ProFellow is short for two things: ProFellow, professional fellowship. We started there because there was all these professional fellowships that weren't very well known. And then also, becoming a pro at applying to the fellowships because they're competitive and they're merit based. So at the platform, we like to help people find them. We have a huge free database of 2,800 programs, from, all different career levels, including well into mid-career, scholar awards, you name it. We also have articles, workshops, courses to help you become a better applicant. So it's kind of a holistic platform where you can find unique opportunities. So if you've never heard of a fellowship before, go check it out. Get into the database. Your mind's going to be blown. You'll be like, how did I never hear of these things? How did I not
Right,
know?
right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for democratizing that information
Yes.
and making it available and accessible to people. I can't leave the conversation without asking you about a great success story that was recent. Anything of note that you want to share, even anonymously, about a win that just made you really, really proud? I'm sure there are
Uh,
tons.
yes, with someone I've worked with.
Yes, or
Oh,
somebody that
yes.
used ProFellow. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the key things that I've done over the last several years is help people get into fully funded graduate programs. And for me, I didn't understand the concept of full funding or what fully funded is until later in my career. So I wanted to democratize that information. And essentially, this is much more common in doctoral programs, but less common in masters. But I had a program that helped coach people not just to find programs in their discipline that offered funding and then help them get into those really competitive programs. So recently, this is the time of year I start to get the emails from last year's students that said, "Oh, I got in here. I got into Cornell with funding. I got into University of California, Berkeley with full funding." And it's just really cool because I think when these folks started out, they were in the mindset like this feels like a huge intimidating step. And also many people now feel that graduate school is really out of reach unless they can get funding. And even someone on my ProFellow team, she just got into a fully funded PhD program, so she's celebrating and waiting to hear back from some other schools and negotiations. So it's a great time of year. I like this time of year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good. I mean, I could see from the smile on your face the
yeah,
deep pride and authentic desire to do what you are doing.
yes,
What I will say is that this was well worth the interruption to the break because of the timeliness of and the relevance of this particular book and the Match Me formula and ProFellow. So whether you are early career, mid-career, or an executive, there is something in the Match Me formula around pitching your potential for new opportunities, new career opportunities, and for the class of 2026 and 25 and earlier. If you are looking for a fellowship or if you really want to explore further learning and do it on somebody else's dime, I want you to go to ProFellow and learn more. Dr. Vicki, where can we find you and more information about ProFellow and the book?
absolutely. If you want to learn about ProFellow, get into the database, go to profellow.com. And then also, if you want to find me
Yes.
personally or learn more about the book or speaking engagements and advising, drvickyjohnson.com is my personal site.
Great. We will link all of that in the show notes and also show it on the screen. Thank you so much for being with us on
Thank
Giant
you.
Steps with Leilani Brown. It was a delight.
Thanks. I enjoyed it.
This podcast is a production of Giant Steps LLC, a company working at the intersection of strategy, culture, career, and education. I'm Leilani Brown, CEO and host of the show. You can learn more about our company at giantstepsllc.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode and others. Please be sure to follow, like, and share our show far and wide. Thank you for listening.